Well, I am Sal Macaluso with eStyle Central, and I again like to thank you all for being here. Especially want to thank the market for inviting me, America's Mart, to do this presentation. I've done presentations for them before, but never was the situation as serious as it is now, and I really appreciate they've asked me to come and speak about this particular issue that is very pertinent in our industry today. Let me ask how many people here currently have a website. So if you have a website, raise your hand. Raise your hand up high so I can see. Okay, so most of you, all of you have a website. How many of you is selling on your website? Selling dresses on your website. Okay, great. So just a couple of you. So we're going to address. You can see what it says here. We're going to show you how full-service specialty stores can benefit from online sales. And you see my little catchphrase. This is our theme for the market. The problem is not that your customers are buying online. The problem is that they are not buying online from you. So, have any of you sensed the problem with online sales? I mean, you know, I could tell you story after story. We have 227 clients all using our program. So we get tremendous feedback from them. And we hear story after story about real, practical, definite examples of them losing sales to the big online-only retailers. So we're going to address that. Oops. We're going to address that, and you know, then at the same time, give you advice on how you could benefit, like I say here in the title. So the one thing I want to tell everybody is that you know, even though things may seem like a struggle right now, I want to give you a sense of confidence that the manufacturers, the vendors, always go back to the full-service specialty stores. You know, they may find a situation where they can be doing a lot of business in another avenue of retail. I've been in the business since 1973. I know I don't look that old, thank you. But I've been in the business since 1973, made my first trip here to market in 1977. And season after season, you know, generation after generation of seasons that I've been through, there always seems to be a way, you know, sometimes they'll start selling department stores, or sometimes they're going after catalog business or something, but they always go running back to the full-service specialty stores, or where their bread is really buttered, and where they really know that they need you. So I want to give you some encouragement and even excitement in the reality that these manufacturers can't live without you. And I want to go over why that's the case, and why there is a perfect storm brewing right now, where you are going to be able to take advantage of the fact that the manufacturers know how much they need you and what the situation is with online-only retailers. I don't know why this is. Okay, so eStyle Central, like I said, if you want to go to my website, you go to eStyleCentral.com. Very important if you go there to read the blogs that I have. There's one blog article in particular that says, "Has the internet really hurt our industry?" I can always refer back to that article, which I wrote 3 years ago, because in that article, it clearly states that manufacturers can sell whoever they want. You could be upset about it, but they can sell whoever they want. And they will sell whoever they want, and they can put the efforts behind building their business with whoever they want. But by the same token, they can also not sell whoever they don't want. So they have that power to go one way or the other with where they're going to drive their business. So first of all, and primarily, I want you to know that even though I am presenting this to full-service specialty stores who I'm sure are upset about big online retailers taking business that they think they should have away from them, that I'm not saying that we should gang up on the manufacturers. So what do we need to do? We need to do something that's more effective. Now, who was here for Steve Lang and Tony's presentation earlier? Did anybody make that? Okay, so, well, you were here, Jim. But, you know, the Chinese counterfeit factories are a problem. They're a very serious problem. I really encourage you all to become members of that group, because we have to put a stop to that, and the government has to get involved. And technically, I've researched this, and Steve could tell you, 51% of our industry has to be complaining before the government will really do something about it. And they've done things about it, and they're making some headway, so I do want to encourage you. But what I wanted to go over with you is what happens. Why are you so important to this industry? How many of you went to pre-shows? So in other words, even before you came to Atlanta, you went to Chicago or one of the New York shows or something like that where the lines are being shown. I'm glad that a lot of you didn't go. Many of our clients did go and committed quantities of orders to these manufacturers. So what I want you to think about is just how many samples there are of dresses on the 10th and 12th floor of this building. Just calculate that in your mind. 100,000? If you wanted to see every single dress that was hanging in this show, in these showrooms, would it be 100,000 styles? There's a lot. Okay, but before those 100,000 were selected, what did the manufacturers do? They went to China, they had the designers sketching, they have all of these resources available to them to be able to select what they're going to want to bring here. So before those styles even got here, there was potentially 1 million different items that you may have seen. So just like you come here and you say to the manufacturers, show me your 10 best, the manufacturers do this as well. They're weeding out and getting 10% of what is the best things that are out there that they think they can see. I'll just tell you a quick story. My uncle was an importer and from Hong Kong at that time, and I said to him, Uncle Sam, what happens over there in China when you do that? He says, they know the kind of thing that I sell, and they'll go and they'll show me a bunch of things that I'm going to say, yes, I want that, no, I don't want that, yes, I want that, change that a little and I'll take this. And he says, Sal, I have to tell you, sometimes they put up samples, and I'll say, I buy 1,000 of that, I need 600 of this one, 750, and these two, he thinks, candid camera, I'm showing the age, he thinks there's candid because they're so funny and so goofy looking, but the Chinese guy didn't know the difference. As far as he was concerned, all of those styles are excellent. So what do the designers do now? Really, they're more sorting out what they're going to bring to show you. Okay, so there's potentially 1 million items that the manufacturers reduced to maybe 100,000 that you guys come and choose from. Now, if you didn't exist with your eyes and your know-how and your experience and all those things that you bring to the table, these manufacturers wouldn't know how to zero in to what styles they need to cut. Now, you know that's true. How you do it is amazing to me. I used to do trunk shows with Tarani, a company called Tarani when I repped them. And I would see that the buyer who was doing the trunk show bought a particular dress. I would get familiar with the inventory that she had, and a customer would walk in and I'd say, we're having a trunk show with Tarani, and I can say, I'm looking for a red dress with beads and blah, 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 blah. And what size are you? I'm a 14. And I walk over, and there's exactly the dress that the girl described. I give it to her. She bursts into tears because she's so excited I have that dress. And that buyer bought that 4 months ago. How did she know that customer was going to come in the store? You think it's just something you do. It's some kind of, something you grew up with. But the manufacturers live and breathe by this. Every night at the end of each of these shows, they're seeing what their best-selling styles are. So the usual mantra, show me your 10 best styles. So maybe at the end of the show, they've zeroed in to 10,000 styles. So think about it, 10 from this company, 14 from that company, 1 from this company. There's always those companies that have the one hot dress, and you say, I just want to buy that one dress, but you have to place their minimums, but you'll place their minimums just to get that dress, because you know it's going to be a hot seller. How many times at the end of the season, or during the season, even January, February, March, especially February, March, are you getting calls for that same Sherry Hill dress, that same Tony Bowles dress, and you check they can't get it in anymore? You wish you bought 20. If you knew now, then what you know now. So once they ship the merchandise to the stores, now they're getting real feedback from the customers, from real people. And it might be something like, and again, you guys can tell me, you've experienced this, I'm sure. Somebody walks into your store, they walk right over to that dress. They look at it, they go and buy something else. The next person from another place comes and looks at that dress. People are trying it on. You still haven't sold the dress yet, but you call the manufacturer and say, that's style number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When are you cutting that again? When can I get it in? And that manufacturer, all of those phone calls, all of those emails, he's saving that information to know, we got to get more fabric for this dress. Planning his production. Okay, then, of course, at the end of the season, when the dresses are completely sold out from everyone, and now you know what you wish you had that you don't have. And there's maybe 100 dresses out there that, has it ever happened to you where you've picked up the phone 3 times, 4 times in a day and they're asking for the same style number? Okay, this is what makes our industry great. Chinese factories, discounters, anything out there does not affect this. It does not affect us. Remember, every single one of those hot dresses, when you can't get them at the end of the season, they're sold out right? The manufacturer can't turn them quickly enough. How many of the sales on those specific dresses were lost to a Chinese counterfeit factory? 0. To a discounter? 0. To a department store? 0. Did we lose sales to those people? Yes, but not on these, because these all sold to the piece, right? Who did you lose the sales to if you lost them? To your competitors. That's the only other person. It's the only other person who's living and breathing and thriving in this business, knowing what the hot dresses are, dealing with the manufacturers, dealing with the reps, getting their finger on the pulse of the industry so they can react to things. And you have a new competitor. That's the problem. You have a new competitor. Now, one of the things that you need to recognize if you are going to do online sales. Now, of course, what we're saying here is you need to be doing online sales. Why? I know a lot of you are against it. It's like you have this thing, I don't want to become the enemy. I don't want to be part of the problem. But you have to recognize that girls go to stores like they always have done. They may go to 5 stores in your area. If you had a girl that comes into your store, would you ever ask her, have you been in 4 other stores? Oh, if you have, don't come into my store because it's not a good chance I'm going to sell you. You might go back to one of those stores. Of course not. You're going to invite her in and you're going to try to sell her. But now what happens is she comes into your store as one of the 5 stores, and now she has another option where she can go, and she goes home and she buys it online. Now, one thing you know for absolutely sure, first of all, she's not getting a discount. That was a myth that went away a long time ago. They're selling for the same full service price, as I call it, as you are. It's a matter of convenience. That girl goes, she may not even remember where she saw that dress, or she may now, with a whole vast array of dresses available to her, just find something she likes better. And wouldn't it be better now if she goes to your website and she sees that dress, and maybe she even sees it comes in another color that she likes better? What would you want her to do if she couldn't place that order on your website? You'd want her to wait till the next day and call you and say, look, I don't want to come back to the store. Can you ship it to me? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Wasn't it great back in the day when nobody was selling online and they would call from the store locator? You get 15 calls in a day. It was driving you crazy, but at least you were doing some business from it. Well, people got smart. They put on the big online retailers hit the industry. And now they have a place where the girls can go to shop for their dresses. The reason I wanted to emphasize on this Google Merchant account and just how effective, we had meetings with Google that it blew them away. We would say to them, look, we only care about one thing. Well, we care about a lot of things, but we care about this very importantly. If a customer goes to Google, a consumer out there, and she types in, I'm looking for Sherry Hill style number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a pink size 6 in stock, I want one of my clients to come up number 1. They burst into tears. They said, that doesn't happen. I said, oh, really? Let me show you how many Google rankings there were on TBE 11069, a hot Tony Bowles dress at the time. And they saw it was ridiculously high. I said, that's what we want. So with a Google Merchants account and the things that you know about what's hot in the industry, emphasizing just with those criteria and also certain style details. Anybody remember TBE 11069? Okay, it was a Tony Bowles styles that had the animal print with the short in the front and long in the back. He was the first one that came out with it. So a girl could type in TBE 11069, or she could type in the dress that's short in the front and long in the back with an animal print. We knew exactly what she was talking about. So we could match up those criteria with the style number. So when something is trending, see, this is where your expertise as a full-service specialty store buyer comes into play, because you know how to maximize it. And I have to tell you, it's mind-boggling to me. If you all turn around to your right and look in that window back there, you're going to see camouflage print prom dresses. And for years, before Duck Dynasty, I would say to people, look, who knows what's going to be the next hot thing? Maybe it'll be camouflage print prom dresses, and you'll just know that you're going to maximize your search results. But you don't just maximize your search results. You buy the category, you buy it big, you have it in your store, you represent it on your website. That small, tiny percentage of people that are looking for camouflage print prom dresses, you're going to be able to maximize your sale. That's how the Google Merchant, the best thing that ever happened to our industry is Google, because of how easy it is for them to connect a consumer with what you have available for them. Okay, whoops. All right. Very, very important. Again, I want to leave time for questions. If you think of any questions now, you could text them to Will. You could write it down on a piece of paper. Will's the guy with the hat and the beard back there, and hand it to him, and he'll address the questions. But here's questions that you should be asking every vendor before you place their orders. And again, if you want to come to my room later, we could review this with you. I can print it out for you. I can give them to you, so you don't have to worry. And it's going to be all on my website too. Now, if you're going to be selling online, obviously you have to have the manufacturer's images. You have to have their images and their style details. A lot of you think that you can satisfy that need by linking to the manufacturer's website. It is the worst possible thing you can do in the industry today, is link to the manufacturer's website. The girl now has an access to the entire manufacturer's collection, and then if they can't buy from your website, you know 100% if they're going to be buying online, guess who's not getting the sale? You. And because most of the manufacturers are selling these big online retailers, you want to make sure that you at least have this fighting chance to get that order. Okay, and again, with our program, it works even more effectively. But I'm not talking to you as an East South Central client. You're a non-East South Central client. This is still very important. You don't need my program to accomplish this. It's a lot of work, but you still do it. You get CDs from every one of the manufacturers, you get their style detail list, and you put a team in place to upload all of that information. Okay, so that's one of the questions. Will I be able to get images from you? If they say to you, just link to my website, say, no, I'm not interested. Now, you may want to Google that manufacturer's name, and even what I would suggest is Google a style number and the name, and see which online retailers they're selling, so you know. Okay, now, the next thing you're going to ask them is, will they allow online sales? You know, if you're going to upload their collection and they're going to allow you to have the images and the style details and even the price, but you can't take an order on it, well, if they're allowing other people to do it, you know you have a competitor that's got an edge over you. Again, it's not something that you should not buy the collection because of that, but know it. At least ask them. Ask them. There was a company last year, that was taking orders on their collection, and my clients, when we finally said, okay, it's time to get that collection on the database, we found that they weren't releasing images for our clients to use. It was exclusive to one retailer. And when they called me and said, when are we getting those images? I said, well, didn't you ask the company? Didn't you ask them if you were going to be allowed to sell their product on your website? And when they said no, you should have reconsidered whether you were going to buy the line or not. They never asked. Well, actually, you can text the question or write it down. I promise I get it. Okay, now, if a manufacturer says no, you will not be able to have my images and you will not be able to sell these dresses online, that could be the best answer that you got. Like imagine I sell a program that allows people to upload these images and sell them online to build their business. But as far as I'm concerned, and I will always have this position, if a manufacturer has great styles available for you that will not be on the internet, you really have to consider buying that line. You really have to do, especially if it's somebody you can trust. So if the answer is no because they're not letting anybody sell it online, then yes, that's a great answer. But if they are allowing people to sell it online, you want to be part of that availability to sell. Okay, because you also want to ask them if they're going to sell at MSRP, if they're going to maintain an MSRP price. Now, most of them will, even if they don't, some of the bridesmaids collections don't, but for the most part, it's always going to be at MSRP. And some of them are even offering a 2.2, that they're maintaining a 2.2 markup. Now, again, on those hot-selling dresses, it's not a price shopper. It's a dress shopper. It's a look shopper. It's somebody who's willing to pay. And if on those hot-selling dresses, you can have inventory available to you, and you can make a 2.2 markup, they're going to pay it. Okay? Okay, next. Will this collection be sold on any of the big online-only retailer websites, or will it be kept exclusively for full-service specialty stores? Again, these are questions you work into the conversation. You're not going to say, okay, here's my list question. Okay? But you want to know this before you write your order, before you place your order. Now, what is a big online-only retailer? It's been kind of, in the gray area of what that distinction is. But you can go to some of the manufacturers' websites, and you'll see they have the big online-only retailers listed. You could go to those websites and go into their frequently asked questions. See if it says, we are an online-only retailer. Well, guess what? If it says that, they're an online-only retailer. Now, are the manufacturers doing something unethical or improprietous by selling them? Absolutely not. I'll be quite honest with you. If I was a manufacturer and I had that opportunity, I would. But what really caused this to happen is because all of you weren't selling online. If every single full-service specialty store was selling online from the beginning, those people wouldn't have needed to exist to be a venue for people to shop online. So you have to give them credit for what they did, as much as you may not like it. Okay, so, but the reason I'm telling you to ask this question is because the manufacturers are starting to think, is it in my best interest to sell online-only retailers that don't have brick and mortar stores? Maybe I won't do it this season. And again, it's totally up to them who they want to sell or not. And if they decide that they're not going to, guess what? We're not so naive to know that, or to not realize that maybe none of the big online retailers want to buy their collection. You have to take that into consideration. Is it a good collection? Then why isn't it on a big online retailer? It's got to be a manufacturer's decision. And there's lots of reasons. Again, this is very proprietary information for our clients, but we'd be happy to share some of that information with you. Come to our room, because there's a lot of stuff that we know is going on in the industry where manufacturers are making the decision that it may not be in their best interest to sell big online-only retailers that don't have brick and mortar stores, or that it would be better. Let's think of it from a more positive perspective. It may be better for them to throw that support behind the full-service specialty stores. Now, again, when you try to get a definition of a full-service specialty store and an online retailer, it gets very vague. But the point is, the manufacturers can make a determination of who they want to sell and who they don't want to sell. It is totally up to them, so the distinction only has to be in their mind. But this is the definition that we have. A full-service specialty store is a retailer that places orders on all collections that will be featured on their website. So if you have a website and you're featuring a collection that's not in your store, automatically you're not eligible for the East Style Central program. You can only put stuff on your website that are in your store. Okay, at the beginning of the current season, for the minimum quantities required, now of course that's negotiable between you and the vendors, by the manufacturer, and those minimum quantities, less than these styles that are discontinued, are shipped to a brick and mortar full service specialty store where there is the potential for those items to be tried on and purchased by a consumer during posted store hours without an appointment. Now, I see people nodding their head, because you say, wow, you just defined my store, and you made it so tight that there's nobody else that does and do exactly what I do that fits into that criteria. So we do have a definition, but it doesn't mean that the manufacturers have to agree with that definition. They can have their own definition. The point is, that's our definition, and you must meet that criteria to be eligible for our program. Okay, will this collection be sold directly to consumers on your corporate website? I was going to leave this question out, but more and more of these vendors, again, maybe some of the more obscure vendors that are not on the big online retailer websites, and they don't want to miss that online, they're starting to sell directly to the consumer. Well, when you ask that question, if they say, yeah, you know what, we're missing online sales, a lot of our stores don't have websites, so we've decided we're going to sell online, they're going to justify it, and you know what, for as far as I'm concerned, being objective, they have every right to do that as well. But what do you do after they answer that question yes? How quickly you get to the door? Okay, so thank you very much, not interested. You walk out. You can't do that. You can't be in competition with the manufacturer's corporate website. And here's what's ironic. What would you have all done if all the manufacturers, all of the prom manufacturers, started selling directly to the consumer online, on their website? Would there have been such an uproar that this building would have exploded? Yes. When you lose an order to one of the big on-only retailers that don't have a brick and mortar store, how much more of the order did you lose than if the manufacturer was selling it? $30 million, we estimate, of that business that's being done. And I'm just talking about this styles in this building. We estimated, again, it's hard to estimate, but I know the kind of numbers that these manufacturers are doing with these people. And again, it's business, that's real business that's taken away from you. The business you're losing to counterfeit websites, that's not somebody who would have been willing to buy a dress from you at the price you're selling it for. But when you lose an order to an online-only retailer, you know it's a customer that was willing to pay the price and may have even been in your store to try the dress on. Okay. Now, this is important. Again, it's a question you should ask because if you're going to do online sales, you want to start letting the manufacturers know that you're interested in the answers to these questions. Do you list the online-only retailers separately on your website store locator? It was mind-boggling to me that I had customers that came back and said, hey, we bought this collection or we bought that collection. And of course, I always do research and I see what's the status of that collection on online-only retailers and all of that, just so I have an idea. And I would go to the manufacturer's website, to the store locator. Before you put in a zip code, it says, here's our online-only retailers, and they have all the big online-only retailers listed. Now, maybe some of those are online retailers that have stores, and they're big, and they've developed websites, but then you have every right to be on that as well. Say to them, hey, I'm an online retailer, and I have a store. Why am I not on this list? How did you distinguish these 6 people from me? I have a website and a store. That one has a website and a store. That one has a website and doesn't have a store. So where do I fall in this? You know, at the very least, you do want to make sure that you have a listing on every manufacturer's website, and if they are willing to put your link to your website on your store listing. There's one manufacturer, again, this is proprietary information. There's one manufacturer, you go to every single state on his website, in the store locator. It has all the stores listed with no links to their website, and in the top right-hand corner, it has one big online retailer that they sell. In every state, and that online retailer only exists in one state. And people buy that line anyway. It's mind-boggling to me. So again, you just want to let the manufacturer know that you're educated about this, that you know that you're informed. Now, what happens in our industry is, you know, we don't want to, you know, I've had people say to me, oh, well, if I can't beat them, I'm going to join them. Well, that's not the attitude you need to have. You are doing something different than they're doing, just in the nature of how you run your business. So what you want to do, what we need to do, is for you to take the passion that you have for customer service and bring it to the internet. I just can tell you one quick story. I wanted to keep my stories short and sweet. One customer that signed up for me had a fabulous website. She was getting 40,000 visits on her website a day during peak prom season, but she was linking to the manufacturer's website. So we got her set up. All the collections were now uploaded on her website, prices, add to cart, everything there, and she started doing business right away. So she calls me, it was in February, she calls me, she said, Sal, you need to take e-commerce off my website. Now, it's very easy to do that. You check a box, e-commerce comes off, and it has a little note there, call us during store hours, or whatever you want to say, click here to submit an inquiry, you can take prices off, you do whatever you want. I said, okay, just go in and I'll show you how to do it. She was very flustered. I said, but why do you want to take e-commerce off? I knew she was getting orders. And she said, well, it automatically shows on the screen after they place an order that we will get back to you within 24 hours. We had 3 girls place an order 2 days ago. We were so busy in the store, we didn't get back to one. She called and she was very upset. Her credit card wasn't charged, because that's the way the system works. And she wanted to know what was the status of the dress. So I said, well, let me ask you a question. Yesterday in your store, was there a situation where 2 17-year-old girls spent 2 hours with one of your sales associates and walked out without buying anything? She said it happened all day. I said, great, you should have told that sales associate to call the customer back that left an order 2 days ago for $650 she told you to charge on your credit card for a Sherry Hill dress that you had in stock. She said, thank you, and she hung up. You have to get your mind around the fact that you can do customer service online. You could extend that customer service. You could win a customer over for the service you give them. You can do an online chat. You can do Skype. You can do whatever. Every time somebody places an order on your website and the style's not available, that's going to happen. You have an opportunity now to help that customer. You know how much she's going to spend, what color she likes, the kind of design she likes. You know all of this. You even have her credit card information to process an order. So the point is, you need to then help that customer. Look, I can't get that dress for you. No one can. You can stay on the phone and go on websites all day to try to find it, but I want you to know, in anticipation of calling you, I have 5 dresses on my website that I know you're going to love in your price category, the kind of thing that you wanted to order, that I can ship you today. So not only are you moving your inventory, you're helping someone. Isn't that what our business is all about? Okay, did anybody text any questions? Okay, so I didn't think it was going to work. My son was convinced it wasn't going to work. We'll come up and get this, and if there's any questions, you can bring this to the person too. This is working too, right? Mike? I think it is. Now, by the way, I'll keep asking questions as long as people are asking them. You can leave if you want. I know you guys are very busy. All of this is being recorded. It'll be in our space on, again, we should have a map on the back. If you want to come and watch it later, especially, you can fast forward to the questions and answer section. Or if you have any questions that you want to ask, please do come and see us. Now, you had a question, this little lady. Bring the mic down, Mike. Well, that's the whole thing. Oh, I did already. I very good answer. Okay, did anybody else have any other questions?
Recently I read that Google Shopping no longer allows certain images, like they have to have the watermark removed. Is that true?
Yes.
Is that certified?
Yes, we are working very closely with Google on that. We haven't had a problem. We've had one of our customers who was taking advantage. You can't fool Google. What the watermarks that they're really talking about is if you have, discounting or something like that, some informational. So if somebody stops to actually recognize that it's a watermark from a manufacturer to stop counterfeiting, if you're playing by the rules in every other category, you shouldn't have a problem. Again, it's something that you would have to talk. You'd have a Google merchant account. You actually have a person to speak with about that. But there have been those issues. I don't think it's something that's going to continue going forward. Again, they're recognized in our industry. I will tell you that our industry was a thorn in the side for Google when we met them. The point was that they recognized that everyone was saying they have everything in every size, in every color. And when I showed them, I said, go ahead, go into Google Shopping and put TBE 11069. And you see those 5 pages of people that fed that to Google Shopping. They don't have that dress in stock. They don't have those 8 colors and those 14 sizes, because I know that manufacturer's completely sold out of that style, and he wouldn't even be able to fill a special order. They flabbergasted. They had no idea, because Google Shopping was created for people who were selling something they have. Nordstrom, Neiman, Saks, David's Bridals, I hate to even mention here. All of those people, everything that's on their website for sale, they have it as a retailer. You're selling 99% of what you don't have is in your store, you don't have available for sale on your website. They never heard of such a thing. But that's one of the great advantages that you have. Now, again, getting your inventory onto your website is also extremely important, because if you show Google that you have things in inventory, they start actually recognizing a profile separate than the other things, because it's in there as in stock. Again, that's something that you need to know a little bit more about search engine optimization. That's built into our system. But really, it's important that you have your inventory, you keep it updated, you get a POS system to keep it updated, you have relationships with the manufacturers to know what they have in inventory that you have available. One of the big problems with the big online retailers last year, again, not a problem for them, I credit them for doing it, was they were really tapped in to the manufacturer's product. I had customers that were telling me they didn't waste time on the manufacturer's website. They would go to blah, blah, blah.com to see if it said it was in stock, and they knew the manufacturer had it because they were so detailed. Now, again, that is something you could do on your own, but it's extremely time consuming. With our program, the manufacturers could actually add their inventory, and it would show on your website that that's available for immediate delivery. Any other questions? Yes, right here.
What do you recommend as the best marketing channel to attract new customers to your website?
Having good dresses in your store. I know people think I'm sarcastic when I answer a question like that. The only thing that matters that's going to make you successful over and above the other people who have everything available on their website is your buying acumen. And I've told customers, I tell them right out from the beginning, if you have 3,000 dresses in your store that nobody wants, your website is going to help you very little because of the competition that you're up against. But if you have a store full of stuff that everybody wants, and those people aren't coming into your store, but they're out there in the world, then you're going to be successful. So the number one priority has to be buying well and knowing which manufacturers you can trust that'll get you into the styles. Get that information then on your website. Highlight that information on your website. That's what's going to make your website look different. Then you can say, okay, just like people will drive by 5 stores to go to your store because they like the kinds of things you order, you'll be one of the stores they're going to stop in. Your website is going to be one of the places they stop. Now, if everybody's website looks exactly the same with the same content and the same prioritization of styles in the sequence that the manufacturer gives them to you, you're going to just look like everyone else. But if somebody goes to your website, they can see what you ordered from Giovanni, what you ordered from Sherry Hill, what you ordered from Tony Bowles. They're going to see a profile developing, just like in your store. So that's the best thing. Now, of course, there's so many marketing opportunities available. Here's one right here. There's so many marketing opportunities that are available that once you have that website with all of the collections and all of the images and style details and the information about what's available in stock and your own stock, and it's all there in a database on your website, now you can start using these tools effectively. to even market camouflage print dresses if that's what you want to do. Go for some obscure things. We have one store in Salt Lake City area. She does a ton of business on modest prom dresses. You type modest prom dresses, she comes up and she really has focused on that category because it's important in her area in the store. And she gets business from all over the world. Who types in modest prom dress? For every one person that types in modest prom dress, there's 10,000 that type in sexy prom dress. And probably 100 that type in slutty prom dress. I mean, over against modest prom dress. But that's the kind of thing where you can get a category, you know it's available, you have it available, you can maximize, or even a style, right down to a style. If you have a good relationship with a manufacturer. Again, this is, what's your name who asked that question? Quasi. Okay, this is extremely important. You now have a whole new tool, and you have a relationship with the manufacturer, and they tell you that this dress is hot, and they tell you that I'm getting it in on May 15th, and there's no way I can get it in again. When it comes in, I will not have any left, but I want to give you an opportunity to buy 10 of those pieces so you have them. Because anybody who tries to get it after I ship it is not going to get it unless they find it in a store. Well, maybe you'll buy that 10 pieces, or maybe you'll even buy 30, because now you can promote it on your website. And as people are running out of it, it's going to be one of those styles that the cream rose to the top, and you're going to sell 30 pieces that you didn't wish you had, you actually did have. But again, it's risky. You have to know which vendors you can trust, and you have to have confidence in yourself, just like anything else. So in other words, we've taken this internet thing and taken what you do best and giving you a way to maximize what you could do with profitability. Because on those styles, you're not going to ever discount. You can even, I have one customer, a quick story, because it definitely addresses. He gets calls all the time because he takes prices off of things on his website. When he has 20 pieces in stock and he knows there's none left, and he puts it in his store at a 2.5 markup, and somebody calls him and says, do you have that dress in a size 10? And he says, yes, I have it. It's $360. Well, I see it on all these websites for $250. He says, yeah, but they can't get it for you. That's why you called me, and I have it in stock. And as a matter of fact, somebody just went in the dressing room with it. Do you want me to grab it for you? You want expedited delivery? It's an extra $50. You guys have always been successful because you've been able to, even this by osmosis, when you can do those things. Bring that to the internet. You're losing that customer now when you shouldn't be, because you do it differently. You always will be doing and functioning, and your customer service passion and everything else will be different than anyone else. That's why if you don't have a daughter or a son that has the passion for the industry that you have to come in, the business has never survived. I've had situations where sons and daughters took over the business and really took it to the next level just because they knew how to use the internet. But it's knowing that passion for customer service and how you could, you just like you want to get letters from customers that walked out of your store, you also want to get emails and letters, thank you. I couldn't believe I spent $3,000 over the internet without saying, but you were so helpful. I could show you emails that my clients have gotten saying that. If somebody walks in the store, would you be willing to spend an hour with them not knowing if they're even going to pay you? Why wouldn't you spend an hour with somebody on the phone that told you charge $600 on my credit card? Just because it's an easy sale, they're paying full markup, sell them the shoes, you're only 100 miles away. I'm going to tell you what, 100 miles, I want you to come, I'm going to pay for your gas. But I want you to come here because I have accessories to go with this that it's going to be worth the trip. Use it in those kinds of ways, and now you'll be taking the full service. That's how full service specialty stores can benefit from the internet. The same way that you always benefited in your whole experience, customer service. You have a passion for customer service. Use the internet to bring that to customers that you may have never met. Any other questions? Okay, well, make sure you know where we are. Again, our goal is to take as much of the big online retailer business, because it's kind of a dollar amount. And again, with the perfect storm brewing, to get the vendors, or not get the vendors, to just be ready when the vendors are making that decision that they want to support the full service specialty stores. We have a tool that really does give them that opportunity and the technology to do that. And a lot of them have already committed to us that they will be taking advantage of this. And by the way, the manufacturers don't pay us anything for this. We only have loyalty to the stores. If that manufacturer's not hot this season, he cannot come to me and say, hey, I paid you for 3 years when my company was hot, and now I need your help. I have no loyalty whatsoever to any manufacturer. We're both trying to help you, and that's the only loyalty we have. It's to you. So again, if you have any other more specific questions, I'd be happy to share it with you. Sure, no more questions? You're all dismissed. Thank you very much for attending, and hopefully you'll stop by and see us.
Hi, I met you before with Michelle Harrison, but where are you? Where's is in this floor?
I don't know, I think I have to turn this off.
So you will build the web? Because I'm concerned about selling online just because I'm tracking for the